Way or the other, it is Dane Maxwell, who's the Southern District Commissioner, Public Service Commission. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good.
Tell me a little bit about how this happened. The update from the PSC was that we have a recently approved average customer increase. Now, is this across the board, or is it just with Mississippi Power and Entergy, or tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it's across the board with Mississippi Power and Entergy, and the fact is this is just a pass through on the rate increases for natural gas over the years. Not something we want to do; it just passes through. Statutorily, they're allowed to recover the difference, and that's the difference because, we had an unprecedented ice storm. We had an unprecedented year in the Gulf of Mexico. Natural gas prices rose, and there was no way for them to predict the increase as it came about. And so, yeah, we worked with them for a long period of time to adjust those as best we could to salvage an increased hike such as that for the ratepayers. But at the end, they're allowed to recover it, and we have to give it to them, and we did that. And we've started a new program now to reevaluate the cost of those every 12 months. During the times, during a 12-month period, during those times, we're going to be reviewing the prices as they fluctuate, go up and down, and then come up with a better plan so we won't have to hit the ratepayer.
This does not affect the EPAs?
It does not. Probably trickle down simply because the wholesale cost of that will go up. But this is just strictly for those two entities right now.
Well, Dane, when you talk about the ice storm, the economic lag on that one is that much because the ice storm is not any recent memory; it's quite a while ago. So we're talking about that much of a lag where they have to make the adjustment, and it affects us this far in the future.
Well, yeah, and the thing about it is once they have a time of the year where they have to file this, and so they wait for that time of the year, and then when they file it, it'll go through the utility staff who will evaluate it along with us. Yeah. So it does take a little bit of time.
So we're locked in one way or the other for 12 months of this increase of $7.81 a month, right?
Well, locked in for that for the next 12 months, provided we don't come up with some other ways to relieve that. And they're working on those. There may be some strategic ways to do this. We did that same process over my tenure here in 2 years. We've done the same process to reduce the rates, both with Entergy and Mississippi Power. We had, when I came in, the commissioners and I worked on a formula for those guys to use, and on the fuel cost. And this is basically just the fuel cost. And we were able to turn that around, and we did, I think, maybe 4 rate decreases for Empico and 2 or 3 for Entergy over the last probably 20 months.
To the best of your knowledge, is this it? This will be the last rate increase? You're not expecting another one anytime soon?
No, not to my knowledge. We're going to follow it close, and we're going to watch weather events, and we're going to look at some other ways that they can offset their cost. And that's what we did before. And we'll watch it close, and if there's ways we can drop it, we will.
I do want to know this, though. Has the supply chain, it hasn't affected this, it was just the bad weather, has nothing to do with some of the Biden administration's policies as far as natural gas is concerned? None of that has played into this?
Well, it all plays into it. The fact is you had those events, and then with people concerned about the administration and the cuts of the pipeline and the unknown, the natural gas companies are feeling that effect as well, and they've adjusted their price accordingly, just like all Americans have.
It is amazing. There was a new poll out there that 48%. No, that's not the one I wanted. The popularity, what's going down. Biden faced criticism from soaring gas prices, inflation, his policies on his approval. This guy's down to 35%. And once you go out and do a man on the street, the Americans are angry. I mean, really, really angry is what's going on in this country. The sad news or the bad news for Republicans on this one, if this guy is at 35% by the time November gets here, and when the election heats up, he's probably going to peak up. How much further down can you go? Because if he gets down to about 20%, then all of a sudden he gets up to 28%, they're going to say, look, the president's on the rise here. So you got to be careful on that one. But there's
makes you wonder how he got 80 million votes.
It makes you wonder, did he get 80 million votes, number one? And if there are 80 million people in this country who are that out of check with what's going on in politics in this country. So we'll leave it at that in this woke world. Let me turn our attention to the federal funding as far as broadband. Can you give us an update, not only in your district, but what's going on as far as the Public Service Commission and where we are as far as applying some of this money and the advancements of broadband, certainly in the very rural areas?
Yeah, we are still leading the nation in laying fiber and building broadband. We have about another $4.5 billion coming into Mississippi, and that's for the infrastructure projects and stuff. A large portion of that will go to our infrastructure, and part of that will go to fiber optic and broadband. So I would say that we've probably got a large amount of money that's coming in. I don't know exactly the numbers, but I think it's probably somewhere around $500 million that'll funnel back into the broadband side, so we can keep making this push.
I've got to ask you, for some of those EPAs out there or some of those small towns and municipalities, what do they need to do if they haven't done it yet? In other words, if they haven't been active at all in making the application and making the contacts, what do they need to do as far as the Public Service Commission is concerned?
Well, each one of those guys has a public service commissioner, and they can reach out to our offices and have set up some discussions about how to get them in. There's a process to go through, and the utility staff oversees that funding. And once we get those that are not served without high-speed internet, then we can process them through. But the thing is, this has been going on for a long time, and I've been putting the word out. I'm putting the word out, and I want to continue to do that and get these people on the list.
I read a lot about some of the technology stuff, too, and I know that fiber optics is the number one way. Is there any advancement? Because it seems like about every 6 months this story comes out. Is there any advancements as far as satellite delivery that people are beginning to take very serious as far as broadband's concerned?
This thing advances at a rapid pace. We can't keep up with it. I don't think anybody can. The reality is satellite is growing, 5G is growing. The technology is just, as soon as they develop it, 6 months later it's outdated. It's not
that's
just
true.
Month. One of the other things that I want to say too is the fiber optic is being laid across the state by Entergy and Mississippi Power. Those are fibers that we're using. C-Spire's involved, and all of the co-ops are involved. And there are some private parties that are showing interest in developing and coming into the state. And I'm having meetings next week with two of those entities about it.
I want to spotlight anything that you guys have got, all three commissioners maybe are kind of shepherding through the 2022 session that you might want to spotlight, give us the bill numbers on, if there are. FAA estimates where we're talking about 5G. The FAA estimates 78% of all U.S. planes can land at airports with 5G. Agency announced that an estimated 78% of U.S. commercial flights have been cleared, but some are not. And if you had worries about flying, you wonder where these airports are. Doesn't make you feel any more comfortable about outdated technology and the execution of 5G. It's a crazy time that we live in. Back with more coming up. Speaking of jambalaya, oh, by the way, on the coast, and we have Dane Maxwell, who's the Southern Public Service Commissioner. I understand the crawdads are a good price, and some good crawdads are coming out since the season's open now.
Yeah, there's plenty of them,
you had
too.
your necessary. That's what I hear. So
I have.
Here's the rest of that story. The FAA announcement comes after a week of controversy over rollout of 5G service, with airlines warning the upgraded cellular technology could cause catastrophic disruption. The airlines contend the 5G transmitters near the airport can interfere with equipment that allows planes to land safely in low visibility weather conditions. And that doesn't add to any of the comfort for people who are flying. I do want to ask you this. You guys under your purview is also water systems across the state. Is that true?
Correct.
In other words, when they have to have a certification, can you pull that certification as far as if it's at what point when you say the water constantly fails the inspections? Explain that a little bit. How does that work? Do you have people that go out there and do that, or what?
Yeah, these the public utilities or water systems are under us. The municipalities are not. And so we do an investigation on if we have a complaint, and that's where it all originates. Is if there is a neighborhood that has a problem, or a city, or whoever, they'll issue a complaint with us, and we'll send our investigators out to start investigating. And a lot of times DEQ will initiate it if there's a problem with quality or service or sewage. That's the way that process works.
So you work also with the health department on that one, or as far as any inspectors? Who does the inspection on that?
Depends on what it is. If it's we will start the initial complaint if it comes to us. They'll start it if it comes to them, and then we'll just work together as agencies and see what jurisdiction each one of us has, and we work together as a team.
I got you. And we hope that some of these folks are being proactive, and certainly in these smaller towns where you don't have the most seasoned politicians running some of them that are knowledgeable enough to put in for some money to get these water systems rebuilt and use the money wisely. I do want to ask you, as far as your workforce there, I mean, it's something that we're all concerned about. But I noticed the other day there was about 3 or 4 stories. There was actually a Walmart that couldn't even open simply because they didn't have enough employees in one small town. So what do you look like as far as your workforce with the Public Service Commission?
Well, we've got a good staff, loyal people, utility staff as well. These are folks that are professionals that have been there. We've worked with them through the pandemic. We have not had a workforce with my crew problem. We haven't had a workforce problem. The issue that we have is, just basically our funding. And that's one of the things Commissioner Presley and Bailey talked with the appropriations committees and the Senate subcommittees yesterday about our funding, because our agency is we probably got 14 unfunded pins in our office.
Oh. One more thing here is any bills going through for the 2022 session that you want to highlight that they may affect the Public Service Commission?
Yeah, we actually have a bill 2604. And that bill is to set up a creation of the broadband funding office. And this broadband office will review those applications, review the funding process, and pick those that meet the qualifications for the funds. And so I think you're going to see that happen, and we want to see some kind of process that is fair, and that there's more eyes than just 3 sets on who's putting in and do they qualify, and can they actually do the work.
So you're asking for some review of personnel to be moving into each Public Service Commissioner's office, or just one entity, or one just in one office?
No, what we want is the creation of a separate commission just to oversee broadband with us, and they focus. I mean, we don't have the staff to go out and do this. So the idea would be have the governor, the lieutenant governor, and the legislature create this office so that they can process, and it would be a temporary office, but just till we could process this large amounts of money.
I got you. Just checks and balances, so you won't get Shad White knocking on the door. So you don't have to watch Shad White on TV. I understand that. Dane Maxwell, Commissioner's always good talking to you, sir. Have a great weekend, and go out and enjoy some of those crawfish. Thank you, man. Appreciate it.